Hello, good evening, LGBTQ community. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our store. Who here is at the store for the very first time? Very first time? Nice number of hands. Well, we are so glad to have you all with us today. My name is Lainey Rose, and I'm the events manager here at City Bookshop. It's wonderful to be with you all today. Thanks so much for being here in person and for tuning into our live stream if you're watching that way. Our calendar is always full of events here at City Bookshop, and we have just a few more events coming up in 2023 before we get to the craziness of holiday season. In November, we're hosting Australian author Freya Marsk for the last book in her last binding series, A Power Unbound, in conversation with local illustrator Vanessa Kelly, if you recognize that name. And then a week later, we'll be hosting Rosie Dannon for her latest romance, Do Your Worst, in conversation with BK Borison. Both of these events are nearly sold out, so you're going to want to get your tickets now because they are almost sold out. Because hello, Freya Marsk and Rosie Dannon. Thank you. We also have 14 book clubs at the store, including our fabulous Really Reading Romance book club. Who's here from Really Reading Romance? Yeah, in the corner. And also our Queering the Narrative book club, which I recognize a few of y'all out here. Queering the Narrative, every month we pick a genre and then we read any queer book within that genre and discuss how the conventions of the genre affect telling a queer narrative and vice versa. I see so many familiar faces in the crowd. We'd love to have you all join our clubs. More information about that on the website. Words are hard. Before we get to tonight's event, some housekeeping details. Number one, if you could take a moment to silence your cell phones, please and thank you. If you need a restroom, it's upstairs past the cash registers and the greeting cards. Number three, we will have time for questions tonight for both in-person and virtual attendees. So even if you're watching via Zoom, you can participate. Please put those questions in the Q&A feature so we will see them and can ask on your behalf. And finally, most importantly, if you need to purchase a copy of tonight's book, you can do so upstairs at the cash register before the signing line. And also you can pre-order Nikki Payne's book, Sex, Lies, and Sensibilities, which comes out in February of 2024. Nikki Payne, huge staff favorite, and we have the ability to pre-order that upstairs. And now the reason we're here tonight. Who here is a fan of Ashley Herring Blake? Yeah, I have loved every moment of queer joy in the small town of Bright Falls, and each book gets better and better. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date is a masterclass in tropes with fake dating, starring in a play together, getting inspiration for Iris's romance novel and intimacy lessons for Stevie. I was screaming and crying and throwing up my entire way through this book, and I'm so delighted that we get to host this event and share in that joy with all of you. Our author of the evening is the award-winning Ashley Herring Blake. She holds a master's degree in teaching and loves coffee, arranging her books by color, and cold weather. She's the author of romance novels, young adult novels, and middle grade novels. She lives on a very tiny island off the coast of Georgia with her family. And joining her in conversation is beloved local author and staff favorite Nikki Payne, who is by day a curious tech anthropologist, asking the right questions to deliver better digital services. By night, she dreams of ways to subvert canon literature. She's a member of Smut U, a premium feminist writing collective, and is a cat lady with no cats. Please join me in welcoming our authors of the evening. And another round of applause. Yeah!
Now it's on. Hello. Thanks for coming, everybody. Wow, it's like a 360 view here.
Hey, y'all.
I love this. Hello.
Costumes, you guys are ready. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm going to do is embarrass you.
Oh, God.
Okay. Can you share a little bit about your necklace and the significance?
I can. Well, first, if you can see it, who knows what this necklace is? Can we see it? Can we see it? Okay. This is a clitoris.
Yes.
And if you've read Asher Parker Doesn't Fail, it's from that. That's all I'll say. So if you haven't read that one yet, you need to read that one to understand the significance. Obviously, we all know the significance of the clit, but to know why I'm wearing it, well, no, I'd wear it around my neck even if I didn't put it in a book, but why it is relevant to Bright Falls. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I want to start off, first of all, by also just telling you that I'm a huge fan.
Oh, okay.
reading this book and just like
Yeah.
knowing you in IRL, getting to know you, getting to know your hair, you know, just I'm just really excited to be here. And thank you so much
Well, thanks for
writing
this
something
with
so
me. I'm
fantastic.
a huge fan of yours too.
Oh, this is about to be fun.
Yeah, this
Y'all,
is my third event, and I was like, this one's gonna be good
This
because
one's
Nikki,
gonna be
because I'm with
fun.
Nikki.
This one's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so we start off with Iris, queen of my heart, panic writer. Okay.
Yes.
And everyone around her is relatively stable, relatively booed up, and everyone also kind of thinks a certain way about Iris.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about Iris the person, and I felt like there's this broad theme about reputation and what people think of you and how much you kind of let that make decisions for you. And
Yeah.
I'm very curious about Iris and her relationship to reputation and the perception of what people think of her.
Yeah. So if if you're familiar with Iris, you know that she's a chaos demon. She will absolutely punch your ex for you in the face.
Yes.
And has. Ride or die. She's the one who's going to be with you when, shit goes down. And in that, she also kind of has a little shell around her to protect her own self. And a lot of that just comes from she's a middle child of two very successful siblings. So she kind of had to fight for attention. And she did that by being funny and by being loud and wearing short skirts and getting in fights with her vice principal in high school over the dress code. And, so she had to put forth this kind of persona to make herself heard. And then, and she's got a certain, let's say svelte, body type.
Sis.
And when she came out as bisexual, she faced some microaggressions for that. Just being treated in a certain way, getting asked for, for threesomes, and those things are just kind of like slowly seeped into her psyche. She's had some breakups. I had some people be like, when the title came out, they were like, but Iris does date. I'm like, not anymore. She's had some struggles in that area. And so she's just kind of decided I am better at dating. I mean, not dating. I'm just better at hookups. I'm not really the one that people fall in love with. I'm the one you take home for a night and don't even stay for the morning. And so she kind of like wears that as a badge of honor. She's like, this is who I am and I'm great with it. And sometimes she is great with it. And that's great, and that's fine if that's what she really wanted. But deep down, she does want, I won't say something more, but something different, and so that's kind of what this book is kind of focused on with her, about how she's sort of understanding that she's worthy of a great love, if that's what she wants.
Beautiful. Speaking of Iris and hooking up, one of the funniest gags, like really from the beginning, you have this amazing ability to do this kind of emotional shorthand where someone has hooked her up. And I won't go into great detail, but the person makes a statement, and I actually have to say it. And I just want you guys to like feel in your body what I felt also. Okay. So this person is, sitting in the couch and, maybe they're buff, maybe they're not eating any carbs. And, and they say, you never really know how far your body can go and what it will do until you push it to the edge, right? And the words CrossFit were in there, and immediately my entire body shriveled up. It's such an immediate ill. It was such an immediate ill. And like you didn't have to actually go that hard on that character. Like we never saw him. Like, we never saw him again. And yet
we really didn't. And I was also like, I hope I don't offend anybody who likes CrossFit.
No, but
Iris, that is not the person for Iris. Okay.
Not the person for Iris, yeah. But also just that craft moment where you can take a few lines and give us an entire character. I swear he was in there for 5 seconds. And I was like, I know this person. I know him. I just want to talk a little bit about how you build characters, even if like large characters, larger than life characters, but also these tiny moments that also do a lot of characterization.
Yeah, I mean, I start with character. Character is my favorite thing. I usually start with a combo of character and premise. So and so is a disaster in such and such a way, because they're always a disaster. And then this happens, and so that's kind of how I start. But then when I'm creating characters, and that goes for Iris and Stevie, Delilah and Astrid and Claire, and who else is in this? Jordan. Is that the other? Simon. I start with really a background. Now, I didn't know this guy's name is Zach. I think that we're talking about CrossFit guy. And I didn't think, who hurt you, Zach? For him. But, I do like to, if I'm going to put someone on the page, I want them to feel like a real person, even if they're only going to be there for a chapter or half a chapter. And so I do try to pull out smaller details, just like that, just about, his CrossFit, or, I think he tells her later that, Diet Coke was going to kill her. And so just, I think it's just in small details that make it feel real. Like I always, just like little weird things that people do, because that's how people. Like, oh, my best friend, like me, like I have to sleep with a squishmallow, and with a perfectly straight fit bed, like a messy bed, I cannot handle it, So I mean, just like little details like that make people feel real.
Do you make your bed before, like you get out of your bed and then you turn around and make it? Proof. Yeah. You do? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This is data.
I make my bed every morning, so it's ready for me to get in at night, nice and neat. I don't want to deal with a messy bed when I'm like ready to sleep.
Okay. I think we can still be friends. I think we can still do this. Okay, speaking just a little bit more on characterization. Yeah. Also, I feel like the group text was like they were hilarious. The texts were hilarious, but also they were doing so much work in characterizing Iris, and still managing, we're still managing to characterize the other characters in the other books. And I just thought that was just so genius and really expansive. Yeah. Just some of those ways that you managed to do that. That's not a question, I realize. But
I love the text messages because I don't have to deal with any blocking. Yeah. I'm just like rapid fire conversation. I'm like, yes, let's just get this done. But I think that comes just also from like a larger characterization level of, I do think like every single character, Simon included, like non-POV characters who are going to be in there. Like, I do think I'm like, okay, what is your story? Who hurt you? What is your ghost that follows you around? Like a little, Casper. And so I think from that's where I get voice. That's where I get mannerisms. That's where I get, Delilah's snarky because she was an abandoned kid, pretty much, who didn't have anybody who loved her and had to make her own way in the world. And she's not going to let anybody, make her feel like less than who she is. At the same time, couldn't accept love. And so she's a bitch half the time, and so at least at the beginning. Yeah. And so that's a lot. I mean, I know exactly what her voice sounds like. I know when I come to her to write her in either in dialogue or in a text message, like I know exactly what she's gonna say to Astrid. I know exactly how she's gonna tease somebody. And that's just one, I've spent 3 books with these people. Yeah. But a lot of it is just I like thinking through a whole story of why are they the way that they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredibly compelling. I mean, speaking of why people are the way they are, has anyone ever built a alter ego to do a bold thing? Like maybe you're in the club and you want to go by Sasha Fierce or something. Has anyone ever done that, just by show of hands? Do you ever create an alter ego to do just something that you're
hands over here?
Over here also? Yeah. Does that actually work? Does that, like, when you turn yourself into Melania, right? Like, does it work? Does it build the confidence? Yeah. I'm saying this, as you know, in defense of Stefania. Okay. Stevie is the queen of my heart. My GAD heart. Like, I will do a murder for her. I've told you this. She is so sweet. She tumbles off the page with so much heart. I loved her literally. I don't know. Maybe I was a page in, and I'm just like, it's her. It's her for me. Can we talk a little bit about your building of Stevie, who I also think the reputation and like how people
Oh, yeah.
perceived her impacted her immensely, impacted even her anxiety.
Yeah. So Stevie has generalized anxiety disorder. And so she struggles with anxiety. And she has been, she's had it for her whole life. She was actually diagnosed with it and came out in the same year, I believe is what I wrote, when she was like 11. So that was a real fun middle school experience for Stevie. But one of the things that helped her through that whole experience when she was a kid was theater. And I feel like I'm really telling a story about a real person. Her mom was so concerned.
It is a real person.
But her mom was like worried, gosh, she's gonna choke on stage. Like she can't even like get to the school bus without having, some panicky feelings. And but really the theater kind of gave her a context to be someone, either sometimes herself, but most of the time someone else, where she didn't have to be the girl with anxiety, and then in middle school and high school, the weird gay girl with anxiety and the weird haircut, or whatever it was that she was dealing with at the time. So theater kind of gave her a way to express herself. She could be angry, she could be scared, she could be happy, she could kiss someone without being freaked out, because she knew exactly when that kiss was happening. She knew what to say before, and she knew what to say after. She had a script. And so, theater kind of gave her that way of feeling steady and secure. And so when Nikki's asking about alter egos, because she does sort of create that to when she goes out one night with a friend, because she really needs a hookup. She wants a hookup. She's like, I'm just gonna do a one night stand. Stevie is not a one night stand kind of gal, but she's gonna do it, damn it. And so she kind of, in her brain, she kind of is like, well, I'm just playing a character. And it kind of gives her the confidence to say yes when Iris Kelly approaches her from across a crowded bar.
Oh, that was such a scene. Talk about meat disaster. I won't get into it, but
it did not go well.
It did not go well. But you mentioned the play, and one of the things, there are three things that that I absolutely love. A play within a book, okay? Just that's God tier. The fact that it was Shakespeare, okay? I mean, I love that play aspect, and I love like these particular tropes that you worked with in this novel. And one of the best, this isn't even a question. It's what is your favorite trope, and what is the best trope, and why is it sex lessons?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the answer.
Yeah.
End of conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yes, there are some sex lessons in the book, which was really fun to write. Stevie's she's a little inexperienced baby and just wants to have more confidence. And Iris is like, well, I am the queen of that. And then obviously other things ensue, but it was really fun to write that and kind of try to see how far to push it, and how what are they actually going to do here? And kind of build things up that way. That was
You guys
fun.
can't see my face online, can you? It's doing this. Okay. Just wanted to convey my face journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I also love about the play and the sex lessons is that it was so much character building. There was so much confidence building slowly, and it was just this drip of awesomeness. It was like you could see Stevie growing through these lessons and through the play as well, and see Iris growing through that play in particular. And I just love the arc that you put them on, and the way that arc really kind of dovetails that maybe it was them together that they needed, right? I love that. I really did. One of the other questions that I have are really around your ability to be hilarious. Here's the thing, is that it's actually not uncomplicated and uncomplex to be funny on the page. I think we've probably all read a rom-com that was maybe more rom than com, and you're like, oh, I generally get the idea that this is supposed to be funny, right? And then you just kind of give them the vibe, like, okay, I get it, that was supposed to be a joke. But just imagine reading this book and just guffawing, just literally laughing like you're at a comedy stand. And I'm wondering a little bit about your process for writing something like on the page that is funny in real life. And do you understand what I mean when I say that when you read something that is supposed to be funny and you're just like, I get it, right? But and then you read something funny and there's a stark difference. And I just would love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I don't have a really fancy answer for that. I really don't know. I think some of it probably has to do with character development.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing, again, like kind of knowing like, okay, Delilah and Astrid have this vibe, you know, and even after they kind of are closer, they are constantly teasing each other, you know, and so I think some of it comes from that. A lot of it just kind of comes up to me like as I'm writing it, and I will say that I have cracked myself up before. Which is fun to laugh at your own jokes. You're like, okay, well, if I'm laughing, maybe other people will laugh, or maybe the exact opposite. I don't really know. So I don't, you know, I don't know. I think it's just a combination of knowing my character and the situation I put them in.
Yeah.
And just
yeah. So you just write it out and it's like you're cackling.
Well, I mean, not always cackling, but I have on occasion laughed at myself as well. But yeah, I don't really have, like, I don't kind of plan the jokes or like the funniness. I don't like it, just kind of, I think it just happens organically as I'm writing the scene, and just the characters kind of take it. But again, I think it all comes back to character development.
Wow. Hashtag she woke up like this. Just for anyone, just for anyone who's curious. Craft is, it's me. I'm the craft. I am the visuals. I am the visuals. Okay. Okay. So a question that I want to get into, the person who I feel like is, I don't know if people like intentionally craft villains, but I have someone who I just really want to throw hands at. Okay. Personally, I want to fight Audrey. Am I saying that right? I just call her Adri. Adri. Okay. I personally want to fight Adri. Can you talk a little bit about like this type? I mean, this type of villain is just so perfect because it is this kind of insidious, like this person's in your head, right? This person is in your, they know your insecurities, right? Don't forget your meds, right? Like that type of thing. I just would love for you to talk a little bit about this, about Adri, and about like building her and what she represented, like in opposition to Iris. I do think they were kind of foils for each other in interesting ways.
Yeah. So just to give you all some context, Adri is Stevie's ex, and in pure queer fashion is now dating one of Stevie's and Adri's best friends. You know, they're all together. So they've all kissed each other or something. And then there's another person, so Stevie has a new friend group that I've introduced, and it's Adri, her ex. And then Adri is dating Vanessa.
Man.
And then I don't know.
He's like, I don't know.
And then they have a third friend named Ren. And this friend group loves Stevie dearly. Like, they are also ride or die, just like the Bright Falls crew, but I think they have a little bit of maturing that they need to do in their friendships. You know, Stevie and Adri were together for 6 years. They've broken up when the book opens, and Adri is, you know, making out with Vanessa in Stevie's place of work.
Wild.
And, you know, behind a book. And Adri, you know, she is having a hard time letting go fully, even though she's the one who wanted the breakup.
Even though she's making out and all.
Yeah. So I don't want to like give away the whole thing, but so part of Stevie and just kind of what she's dealing with is understanding how to own her anxiety disorder, but also at the same time, you know, have the courage to do what she wants to do in life. You know, she's kind of stuck. She's an actor. She wants to be an actor. She's still working in a coffee shop, whereas all her other actor friends are kind of, you know, along the adulting line with kind of more stable jobs. But she's like, I still want to do this, but I'm also very scared to actually do this. And her friend group, despite their great intentions, are kind of contributing to holding her back, because they're like, you know, oh, Stevie, you know, you need to be kind of, you know, your back needs to get rubbed, and I need to hold your hand down this road. And Ren really kind of pushes her to try some new things, but even Ren gets a little too pushy, whereas they're trying to make Stevie's decisions for her. So that's kind of where she comes in. And Adri is kind of an antithesis to Iris, because while I feel like Adri and Iris are kind of trying to do the same thing for Stevie. Like they both want Stevie to thrive, they want her to succeed. But Iris, obviously, because she's the, person that Stevie's going to fall in love with, does it in a way that she is encouraging Stevie to take some control. She's helping Stevie, but at the same time being like, no, you do this. I'm showing you how to take control. Whereas Adri is like, let me do this for you. And so Adri has good intentions, but she doesn't, and she's a little possessive and doesn't really know how to let go. So, you probably won't like her.
I mean, maybe you will. Give her a chance, maybe. But
it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, I like writing people. I mean, everybody I write is flawed. Like everybody I write is a disaster on some level. Like maybe one day I'll write Adri's story. Figure out what. Hey.
If you make me love Adri, I will never forgive you.
Okay, look though, I had so many people tell me at the end of Delilah that they were like, Astrid is the next book. I don't know. I don't think I want to read Astrid's story. And not everybody. I'm sure there's some people who still hated her at the end of Astrid's book, but Astrid is my favorite. And there's a reason why she's a little prickly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Sense. Okay, if anyone can do it, you can reform Adri. I believe in you.
There are no plans to write a book for Adri right now, but you never know.
I mean, honestly, speaking of characters kind of like getting into the space to do what they want to do, you've described Iris's creative process a little interestingly, like a little, as a writer, I was just like, I'm terrified for this woman. And I would love to know a little bit, like, not if your process mirrors Iris's at all, but what is your writing process? And did you write Iris from this like hilarious, she's a terrible example, or are you a little bit like Iris in your
no complete Iris? I mean, okay, let's take a bold. Y'all think Iris is gonna be like a really organized kind of writer who like outlines everything? No, she's a total chaos demon. So no. So she and I am also, and I'm not a chaos demon when it comes to writing. So I write a very complete synopsis first. And then I write from that. I don't outline chapters, so I don't like outline it so tightly that I can't change things, because it always changes from the synopsis. But before I write one word, I write a whole synopsis. It's usually like 8 to 12 pages. And then, I start from there. And that's kind of necessity, because once you kind of get into publishing, you don't sell books that are completed. You sell them on the synopsis or the partial or something. So I didn't always know how to write that. I used to be more of a pantser, but I've turned into a more synopsis person, which is actually really nice because it makes me feel less panicked when I'm sitting down to the blank page, which Iris constantly feels. So
constantly, I was stressing out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She's still finding her way through her process.
Yeah, she is. She'll get there. Speaking of getting there, let's talk about these scenes. Y'all,
I don't know what you mean, Nikki.
Y'all. These, I mean, not even like, the lessons, just every single, like, it was to the point where every time they were together, I was just waiting on shit to happen. I'm just like, it's about to pop off and I'm ready. I am ready. Okay. Like, there's so much anticipation, there's so much tension, and there's so much joy. And I'm wondering about your approach to writing these incredibly sexy, like loving scenes that were really, I feel like they were like this celebration of a female body and like being in this body. I'm just like, I don't have these body parts and you know what I mean? Like, I have the body parts, but the way that like the way that you were describing, I just felt like it was like I felt in my body reading it, right? Do you know what I mean? So it was just this really embodied reading that I loved so much. And I just want to know a little bit about your approach to sex scenes and how like queer identity informs that.
Yeah. Like with the sex lessons, it was interesting because it was kind of like how much do I want them to actually do before, because I really wanted the first time they actually, had sex to be they both wanted that. It wasn't a lesson. So the sex lessons are more a lot of really big time foreplay. Well, I'm remembering one scene. I'm like, well, maybe that was more than foreplay.
We're in the 5 plays.
Yeah, we're in the 5 play.
Yeah. Come on. You know what you did.
I know what I did. Yeah. But it was I love writing sex scenes. I am one of those romance writers, which I feel most romance writers are, although I have met romance writers who are like, okay, I've got to write the sex scene. I can do this. But I'm like, yes, I'm 5 chapters away. I'm almost there. I can't wait. And I'm the same way with like the first kiss, and which I asked Iris and Stevie kissed pretty early in this one because they have a bad one night stand. But that was interesting too, to kind of deal with like, okay, I had an early kiss and now I've got to kind of like build this tension back up. So in the sex lessons, I couldn't let them get too far because we kind of had to, I had to string y'all along a little bit. To tease. And but I mean, I love writing sex scenes. I like trying to, come up with different ways to keep them fresh and interesting. And there's just so much you can do with queer sex scenes. It's just so much, and it's just so fun. And we do pull out a strap on this one. There is some strap on. You're welcome.
Snap, ma'am. Snap is what you should be doing, okay? Because that shit pops off. So maybe no cursing. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. But yeah.
Where are we?
Bro.
Well, it was Iris.
It's Iris.
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's this joy there. Because like writing or reading those scenes where you are literally sitting there with bated breath, I could tell that you knew that you were fucking with us. You know what I mean? I could tell that you were just. I could see you like hovering over my shoulder, going, "I got you, got you." Like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. I mean, these are really fun because it was fun to watch Stevie kind of discover that she, isn't just someone who kind of takes orders from a top. Not that that's bad, but she also, likes sometimes being a top. So she kind of discovers she's a switch a little bit in this. So it was really fun to kind of help, like, see Iris kind of help her, like, be like, hey, you do like control. Take it. You can have it right here. Do what you want. And it was also, and the same time with Iris, who has this very, it's just body parts approach to sex, which again is not wrong. But, also open herself up to something different in that arena as well. And kind of be vulnerable with with Stevie and realize that, sex could, and it can be something different than the way that she's been forcing herself really to treat it.
Incredibly tender. I wrote this down because I just kept rereading this line where like Iris is explaining her emotions, and it's so small, but I just fell apart. And she just says, "Didn't swoon, period." Oh, just a little. And I was just like, of course, you know what? It was just such a delicate and tender moment. And I felt it. I was like, I'm with him. I have a little game.
Yeah, let's do it.
I have a little game. And the name of this game is called Fake Deep. Okay. And the point of Fake Deep is I'm going to give you some very wrong Shakespeare quotes. Okay.
Okay, where are my Shakespeare scholars?
Actually, Nisha Shah was in the audience.
Nisha.
Shakespeare scholar.
Help me.
There's a Shakespeare play, one of my favorites, in the novel. And I'm just gonna, these aren't necessarily quotes from Much Ado, but I'm just gonna quote them wrong, and you have to quote them right to me. Or you can poll the audience.
Okay.
They should be pretty simple because they're from my memory, which is trash. So, okay, are you ready? Okay. First one. Bonus points if you get to play. Okay. To swipe right or not swipe right? That is the question.
To be or not to be? That is the question. From Macbeth Hamlet?
Macbeth.
Hamlet.
Hamlet.
What is it from, Nisha? Hamlet?
Hamlet.
Hamlet. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I knew it was one of those really sad ones.
Okay. She said it was really sad. Okay. And another one. What isn't a meme? That which we call viral by any other name would trend as sweetly.
What's in a name? A rose that we call by any other name would smell as sweet?
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. Okay. I'll just do two more, just because I'm a nerd. Okay. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our Wi-Fi, but in ourselves.
The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, yay!
And Brutus is Caesar, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay, last one. Last one. All the world's a subreddit, and and all the men and women merely trolls.
Oh, too real. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. As you like it.
As you like it.
Yeah, I knew more than I thought.
It's excellent.
All right.
Okay. Okay. If you don't have any more pressing information, I want to hear from all of these fantastic folks in here that have any questions, and from all of us online. I'll be repeating the questions online just in case you guys think I'm having a, stroke. So just so you know. Okay. Yes, ma'am. First question.
Writing snack and beverage.
Oh, yes. literally fell down on the job. The first question fell down on the job. Okay, the question was, what is your go-to snack and beverage for writing?
Right. I don't have a go-to snack, but I usually write in the morning. So I usually have some coffee. I am a coffee drinker. And then the snack is usually breakfast or whatever form that takes. So I prefer pastries. So yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Over here with the lovely dress.
My girlfriend and I have the same question, which is, how does your experience writing middle grade and middle grade characters inform your writing of adult FF romance?
And the question was, how does your experience writing middle grade characters affect your adult FF female characters?
Interesting question. I mean, I think it's the same in that, I'm still creating characters with who hurt you question, with adults, it's just a little different because they have a lot more life that they've already lived than when I'm writing a 12-year-old. So, I think, I definitely would say specifically queer characters, like having written 3 queer middle grade books where those kids are figuring out, who they are. There's some form of queerness in their identity that they're figuring out. It obviously, and just as a queer person myself, like when I'm writing an FF book or any queer book, like I'm always thinking, like, that's a question that a queer person is always going to wonder. Okay, are you out? What is your story? How did your family handle it? What, how did it go? Was it great and celebratory? Was it traumatic? And, and so I think that that's definitely something that, is built into queer characters just by nature of being queer, and so, and I think, probably writing, and I have a mix in Bright Falls. Like I have some who knew in 8th grade, and I have some like Astrid who figured it out when she was however old she was when I said that 30, 29, 30. So, I think I just like to create a variety of queer experiences within that community. So yeah.
Good question. Love it. Oh yes, Molly.
So the Bright Falls gang, we all know writing is not linear. So who started talking to you first?
Oh yes, sorry. That's me. Just like I'm just waiting for your answer, just like a fan. Okay, so writing is interesting and it's a journey. Who spoke to you first as a character?
Definitely Delilah. Delilah was the first one. She was my pandemic book. And so I started writing that in 2020, right after the shutdown. And so I was like, I want a happy book. I want romance. I had just decided to start getting into adult. And so I wasn't sure if it was going to be romance. I like reading a variety of genres and categories. And so, but then pandemic hit and I was kind of like, okay, romance. And so, yeah. And so, it actually kind of started off as a slight Cinderella retelling with this evil stepmom and stepsister. So, and then I just kind of ran with it. So, yeah.
Yes.
So I've noticed in romance that there's often kind of a pitfall when they try to write in characters that have any kind of like disabilities, like trauma or generalized anxiety disorders or anything like that. And you seem to do so well. Every time I read one of your books, I'm like, wow, I really am like feeling like they're being represented really authentically. And I was just wondering, when you're writing in these characters that have like with Stevie, who's the first time that you really had him like diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder, do you use beta readers, do you use personal experiences, or do you just continuously ask yourself that question that you've brought up so many times tonight of who hurt you and what's going on
Yeah.
with you?
No, I
Okay, let me see
definitely.
if I can
sorry.
summarize that question. I was on it. I was actually on it.
You were, and that was not.
Let me see if I can summarize. Ashley, you're dope. Particularly with your representation of characters who are struggling with mental health disorders or generalized anxiety. Your process, like, do you have beta readers for that, and how are you so awesome? Please expand. Is that correct?
Okay, so for Stevie, I definitely did have some people check her and read her for me, who had generalized anxiety. I have anxiety. I'm not diagnosed, but I have anxiety. I take medication for anxiety. So I also pulled on personal experiences. Like, there's one part in the book that I definitely remember. There's a lot I don't remember writing. I'm like, did I ever say that? I don't know. But I know that one time in the book, she's kind of talking about how, that thing. And I'm sure that everybody experiences this to a level, but when you have an anxiety, either experience anxiety a lot or have an actual disorder, diagnosed, everything's exacerbated. And so, if you've ever experienced that thing where you just think everybody's mad at you, like everyone's mad at you, right? And you can't really pinpoint why. You just know that your friends are mad at you. And then when you finally get up the courage to be like, are y'all mad at me? They're like, no, of course not. Why not? And then you think, okay, well, I'm just terrible at reading people and I just don't know even how to human at all. And so, just things like that. I just those are things that I've experienced to a degree that I felt like it was impacting my functioning, and so I pulled on those as well. But I definitely did research on it as well. And I had people check it. Absolutely. So yeah.
Oh, question from the audience. Oh, yes.
When will Isabel Parker Green get railed by a younger woman?
Do I have to repeat that? Oh, she read it for them.
Okay.
I want to repeat it. But
All right. So Meryl is one of my dear friends. And our whole friend group has been on me about this since Delilah's inception.
yes.
They're like, okay, Isabel needs to go on a cruise,
Yeah.
like a stuck-up white woman cruise, and meet some young thing that's gonna help her unwind.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know. I have actually tasked a few of my friends. I'm like, hey, write it, do it. But then I'm like, well, maybe I want to write a little short story and put it in a newsletter or something.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, but this is definitely a thing. And then that has been mentioned many, many times. And anytime it is, the reaction is exactly the way that y'all reacted. Everybody wants it. And it's really funny because at the end of Iris, I won't tell you where they are. But I do strategically place Isabel next to a young queer woman. I'm not saying anything happens. I'm just saying they're sitting there and talking.
Just peer pressure works. Peer pressure works. Yes, ma'am. Do Iris and Delilah ever hang out as friends? Is there an energy there? She's getting vibes.
Yes, I mean they're all friends now. They all hang out. And I think at the end of Delilah, when Delilah moves back, Iris goes over there to paint her apartment and they get drunk and like it's just the two of them hanging out. It's just like a brief mention. But yeah, they definitely would and absolutely. Yes, they did not like each other at first, but they're very good friends now, yeah.
I think there's a hand up over here. Someone stole your question. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Hi. What I really love about these books is that Bright Falls feels like such a real place. Even though it's like such a like queer friendly universe. And you create books that are like so real, but they like ignore some of the aspects of queerness that exist in the world, like homophobia. And so I was wondering, how do you find that balance of having like real characters and real scenarios in a happy place when like us real queer folks have different, like sometimes negative, but also these really good places?
Yeah. I mean, when I made Bright Falls,
let me just repeat that if I can. Bright Falls feels so real and it's such a safe space for queer experiences and sexuality in real life. That may not always be the case. How do you approach building out these characters who live in these safe spaces when that is not often the case for people who inhabit that body and that sexuality?
Yeah. So Bright Falls, when I was first putting it together, and it's totally fictional, obviously, I wanted it to be a safe space. I wanted it to be a place where, queerness wasn't, well, it was, a thing that my characters could be, an identity they could share and be on the streets with it, and feel mostly safe. If you kind of read between the lines, you will see some things that straight people don't deal with. Like in the beginning of Delilah, she goes into a bar and she gets hit on by this guy and she's kind of like ruminating on how, okay, I gotta come out again, like just kind of the constant coming out that queer people sometimes have to do. But I wanted I did want a safe space for these characters because I wanted the focus to be on who they are as people, where queerness is a huge part of that. And at the same time, recognizing that queer people deserve love, they deserve happy endings, they deserve great friends who will ride and die for them. And that is kind of the world that I wanted to, showcase. So, yeah.
Oh, yes, in the back. Astra's your favorite main character. Do you have a favorite love interest or an interloper into the friend group?
I mean, there is a soft. I love all of them so much. I mean, Astrid is always my go-to, but it's like hard for me to even pick between sometimes her and Iris and Delilah and Claire. Between Jordan and Stevie, I would, it's hard for me to pick between them as well. Like I really love both of them. I love the messes that they are, and I think I probably have a little bit more of a soft spot for Stevie. A little edge over Jordan probably, but I'd die for Jordan too. So I don't know. Yeah.
One more question.
What are you reading?
Ooh, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading? Well, I haven't been reading much in the past couple weeks. It's been a little while, but I did just finish a book called Witch of Wild Things by Raquel Vasquez Gilliland, and it is so wonderful. It's like witchy and just romantic and Latinx culture, and it's so beautiful, and it kind of hints to me of some sapphic in the future, like books following. So I would love it if that happens. But yeah, so y'all should definitely pick that one up. It's really, really good.
And you have time for one more, yeah.
Hi. So you touched a little bit on Delilah. We know she spoke to you first. Did you always know this was going to be 3 books? And at what point did you map out the story for the other books?
So the question is, Delilah spoke to you first, but did you always know that this was going to be a journey of multiple people? Did you always know that there are going to be 3 books?
I did know there were always going to be 3 books. And I knew it was always going to be Delilah and Claire. So I have so many questions. Sometimes people are like, when is Claire getting her book? And I'm like, oh. She'd have to break up with Delilah to get her own book. So She just don't have a title, but she's a main one in Delilah. I always knew it was going to be Delilah and Claire, and then Astrid was somebody I didn't know at the beginning, and then Iris was somebody. And you know, Delilah and Claire came first. Claire was what kind of sprung up at the same time with Astrid and Iris, obviously. But then Jordan and Stevie were a bit of a journey. Astrid was supposed to originally be with Josh, who is Claire's ex. Yeah, y'all, I had no clue. I had no idea she was queer. Like, no idea. I like discovered her queer awakening along with her. And so, and I was like, okay, they're gonna like be working on some project together, and it's like an enemies to lovers because they like hated each other. And then I just realized that, you know, Josh was also a single parent, which I just did with Claire. And, you know, I just didn't feel, I wasn't feeling it. And so I was like, and then I was like, well, what am I going to do? Who am I going to, oh. And so it was very interesting to kind of discover that along with Astrid. And then Iris was actually, if you've read Astrid, was supposed to be with Simon. Supposed to be a double by MF. And then I actually wrote like 25,000 words of that book where it was like oblivious to lovers and Simon was head over heels. And Iris had no clue and didn't want anything to do with anything romantic. And they were going to go on some road trip and I don't even know. And I wrote like thousands of words on that. And I was like, oh my God, y'all are so platonic. I cannot make it happen. And so I was like, okay, we're just going FF for all three. Because that's the way it needed to be. So, yeah.
I love it. A triumph. All right. I think that's all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you all for being here. Let's give our authors one more round of applause as we send them back to our. Yeah, y'all can head over to the thing. All right, we're going to send them to our little back room as we take a moment to reset our space. So we are going to set up for our signing line. Our signing line is going to happen down there by Bargain, and we're going to start the line in front of Science and wrap it back that way. If you need to purchase a copy of the book, that is going to be upstairs. You can do so. We also have copies of all of the other books as well. We do ask that folks just be mindful of the fact that, hello, there's a lot of people here. We got to move through a lot of people, so just be mindful of your time. If you are willing and able to put your chair up to the side so the staff member can collect them, we would really appreciate that. These events are made possible by people who shop at local bookstores. Yay! Thanks, everybody.